What's up, everybody? Drew Cappuccino here on another awesome episode of Let's Talk Local. Today we have an awesome guest with us, Scott Rose. He's in the realty business. But first, we have Mr. Kent D. Jones. Kent, what's going on, man?
Hey, Drew, what's happening, Mr. Cappuccino? So you got your cappuccino there, so life's good?
Yeah, well, I live on the cappuccino, insert in eye socket, right?
That's right.
So community-wise, have you done anything recently?
Just being around the way, we've got we're helping out Gigi's Playhouse. They've got their big fashion show coming up this Sunday, the 14th.
Okay.
Great stuff. We'll get out a QR code. Well, actually, it was just on the 14th because this is Tuesday, isn't it? So
right.
Yeah, I forget sometimes.
Yeah,
that's what we're recording.
So get your time sheet.
That's right.
Right.
But helping out Gigi's Playhouse is a great event.
What a great cause.
Yeah.
You know. We are here with Scott Rose from Baird Warner. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me today.
That's fantastic. So why don't you give us a little lowdown about your story, who you are, why you started, what you're doing,
Okay.
and where you're located.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Scott Rose. Currently with Baird Warner. I've been in the real estate world for 21 years. Prior to that, I was in the airline automation world for 19 years and decided to become an entrepreneur.
Nice.
And so 21 years in the real estate business. I've been in Northern Cook and Lake County for the last 39 years.
Wow.
I live in Lindenhurst with my wife Gwen and my dog Lacey. And all my kids and grandkids are spread all over the country.
Nice.
In California, Denver, and Decatur, Illinois.
Wow. So when you go vacation, you need to go see family and
Right.
and bounce around a little bit. And because you're an entrepreneur, you get to do what you do no matter where you're at.
Sure.
Which makes it nice.
Sure. If I want to play golf on Thursday afternoon, I get to do that.
Well,
But then many weekends, I'm out there showing homes or doing open houses.
well, you're definitely a veteran in two different industries, right? So, which is kind of cool. So when you jumped into the entrepreneurial world, how did that make you feel?
Well, it was interesting.
Difference, right?
In the airline industry, you get paid every other week.
Okay.
In the real estate world, you only get paid when you sell a house.
That's right. It's a balance.
So it's feast or famine. I was sharing with Ken. My wife always says that I'm glad you're not bipolar because when it's good, it's really good, and when it's not good, it's crickets chirping.
Peaks and valleys. Oh, yeah.
So, but she has a nice steady job, so she gives me the latitude to go out and do what I do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously we have seen the market change drastically from being a buyer's market now to moving into, we were just discussing the green room to a seller's market.
Right.
So how are things looking out there as far as for you, for what you do?
Well, what's interesting is I got into real estate business in 2003. In 2003, the market was heating up, and they were tearing down little houses and building the big mansions.
Mm.
And then 2008 came around, and then the market crashed. And for a few years, I even sidestepped and had to get a job for a couple of years. But I was still selling real estate on the side. And then 2011, jumped back into it, and it's going pretty well. The last few years, obviously, drastic changes. When interest rates go from 3% pre-pandemic,
Right.
now approaching, well, right now they're 7. They went above 7 for a while.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that are sitting with 3% interest rates don't want to trade it for a 7 or higher for the same space.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a newlywed, you need to buy a house. So they're going to pay, you know, I had one at 6 3/4, I had one at 7 1/4. You know, everybody needs a house. And when you really look at it, 7% is not bad when you look at back in the 80s when it was 15, 18%.
All right.
I think we got spoiled with the 3%. So people have to mentally adjust to the fact that we're not going back down to 3.
Yeah.
We might go, they're talking about mid to low 6s by the end of this year,
Okay.
maybe into the 5s next year. And I think what will happen is the interest rate comes down, more people will say, well, you know what, I do need bigger space. I'm willing to give up my 3% rate for a 5.5 or 6% rate. And you're going to see more houses come on the market. And that's one of the big issues today is there's no inventory.
Right.
You know, I was sharing with Ken, I went to showed a client a home at Des Plaines on Saturday. There were 100 people that came through this open house.
Wow.
And they had multiple offers, sight unseen, before the open house
Yeah.
happened.
It just seems to be what it is. You know, a wise man once told me, really, if you're looking at the interest rate instead of what your goals are, because at all the different stages of life, you might be in a home now, your kids might be in high school, and then maybe going to college to where you need to reduce your cost on your mortgage, or you need to look for a bigger place. Maybe you have a baby on the way, maybe, you know, so what are your goals? And, I think, Ken, you were the one that had this conversation. You've been in lending for quite a long time. What was the saying about, do you look at your credit card interest rates?
Yeah. And those
So
are
why,
what, 19,
so what,
24%.
right, so, you know, whatever your goals are through time, when those drop, refinance.
Yeah.
But you get what you need, you get what you want, and then you're able to move forward, right?
Right. And there's a saying, there's a very popular saying right now. It says, marry the home and date the rate.
Oh, nice.
So find a home that you love. When the right one comes available, I always say timing is everything in real
That's
estate. So find the home you like, and then at some point, rates will come down. You can always refinance.
Yeah. So is there, you know, when I first bought my home, there was new home buyer. You know, is that still a thing for some of the new home buyers, or people looking for a home for their first home out there?
I think
You know?
that there's new construction and home builders have deals with lenders that might shave a little bit off that interest rate.
Okay.
There are first-time home buyer incentive programs. I was talking to a banker down in Deerfield the other day, and there are IDA loans where you can get $6,000, $10,000 down payment assistance, but you have to live in the home for 10, 7, 5 years. This program gave you $15,000
Wow.
forgivable upon closing.
Wow.
Wow.
Think about that. I mean, obviously income control.
Yeah.
But think about that. $15,000 just right off the top.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different programs out there, and you just got to get with the right lender and the right realtor to help you steer you through the
Well,
process.
And you, being in business, and this is important for people out there listening, you've got a good team, right? So you have some good lenders. You put together a team to
Absolutely.
help your sellers and buyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's not just me. I'm obviously the face you see, but behind me we have lenders, home inspectors, attorneys, title people, just about anything you need. My job is to make that purchase or that sale as easy as possible.
Yeah. So for anybody out there listening and who's catching this, really you're the quarterback,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so there's so much confusion out there with online lenders and this and that today. Probably the best thing to do is just reach out to you and say, hey,
Absolutely.
we're thinking of this. And then you will hike the ball and make it happen.
Right. I'm there from start to finish.
Yep.
From the beginning introduction to the closing table. I always go to, I think in 21 years, I've missed 2 closings.
Oh, geez.
because I always want to be there at the closing to make sure that little speed bumps don't become big speed bumps.
I like that. That means you care.
And
You're not hurting cattle.
Right.
Right.
and for the people listening and paying attention, just through up your website, where can they reach you at? How do they get to you?
You can get me to me a number of ways. Number one, the website, www.scottrosehomes.com. I'm also very active on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, a little bit of Twitter, but I'm very easy. You can text me, and if I don't get back to you right away, I'll get back to you first thing in the morning. But communication is the key in all aspects of my business.
Yeah, I love it. And BBA Finance Marketing, right? From the University of Cincinnati.
Right.
Go Bears, right? Certified relocation specialists, senior real estate specialist. So you've taken a lot of time to get credentials and certified rather than just being a realtor.
Right.
To really make it the best
buyer
experience.
specialist as
Yeah.
well. I didn't get that up there yet.
Yeah.
I just passed that a month ago.
And the importance of that is that's because you care about who you're working with and for.
Right. My business is not transactional; it's relational.
Yep. I love it.
And people that I've sold a house to 10 years ago will still hear from me. In fact, many of those people are the source of my current and future business. So you can market your eyeballs out. The best business comes from relationships.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, just a quick story. In 2004, when things were hopping, I had a partner, and this was everybody was getting a real estate license, and this young lady got hers, and we made an agreement that she was the marketing gal and I was the networking guy. And at the end of the year, she brought nothing to the table, and I brought everything to the table. So that relationship didn't go very far, but I learned an important lesson.
It's good for her.
And that, and that is that relationships are the name of the game.
Yeah.
And it's how you treat people, treat them fairly. I tell all my partners, hey, we got to make this thing smooth, because that's how we build our business.
Right.
So,
I get it. That's a whole nother show, building relationships. That's my core
Yeah.
of everything that I do. I'm not a salesman. I'm a relationship builder. If you build that right network, why would anybody go outside of you to do business?
Right.
And it's not even about business. When you can see that sales pitch a mile away,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, here we come.
Yeah.
But if you get to know the person and then find out what they do later, then through time, I got a guy. Right? It's all about I got a guy.
Sure.
That's an old school. I'm an old school Italian from Chicago, so that's how my father did everything, and then that was kind of handed down.
Sure.
Why would the realty market be any different, right?
Yeah. But another funny story, in October, I had 4 closings. So that Monday, I'm driving home and I'm saying, okay, great. Now where's the next piece of business coming? And the client called up and said, yeah, you helped 4 of my relatives in the past with their house. We want to sell our condo. We want to start a family and buy a house. Yeah. And that was my next piece.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So yeah.
So you're
Never know
saying
where it's going to come
So
from.
you're saying the way to be successful as a realtor is just in your car say, where's the next thing?
And looking up to the sky.
Your phone's a ring.
Only if it was that easy.
That's my
No.
takeaway.
The secret to a successful real estate business is to go out of town.
That's right.
Because whenever you go out of town, somebody wants
Everybody wants something. Sure.
Yeah. Hey, we're right about the halfway mark of the show in the green room. There's a lot of noise out there, and I want to make sure that we catch this, because there's a lot of noise in the news and the media right now with the real estate industry and the National Association of Realtors, and a situation, that's how I'm going to say it, is out there, which has a lot of people who've been thinking about buying, selling, really confused and discombobulated now. Are you able to, I don't know, legally, are you able to, or, professionally, are you able to shed a little bit of light for our listeners to kind of peel away some of the misinformation that's out there?
there is a lot of noise and a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation out there. And I'll preface this by saying, this is my opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
And so in my opinion, this is the way I read it. Recently there was a major lawsuit brought by a bunch of lawyers in Missouri that allegedly said that the National Association of Realtors dictated the commission that agents charge, and that in fact is not the case. I've been in the business for 21 years, and during those 21 years, commissions were always negotiable.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, we don't work for free, and there are a lot of business models. I don't even know if the company's still in business. There was one company that said for $500, I'll list your home. And the basic thing, there are a lot of discount brokers today, and basically you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
So the long and the short of this settlement that NAR came to, I think it's $411 million. Basically, the fallout of that is two things. Number one, come July, in the MLS, there will no longer be notification of a cooperating commission. In other words, the seller used to pay the whole commission, and out of that, they would cooperate with the buyer's broker to give part of that commission to them. So as of July, that will no longer be in the MLS. And then the second one is that agents that work with buyers will be required to have them fill out an exclusive buyer agreement. And the exclusive buyer agreement basically says if the seller does not pay the commission, then the buyer will. And I've always done that even before this, because I want buyers to be loyal to me. But if a seller could technically say, well, I'll pay you, listing agent, your commission, but I'm not going to pay the buyer's commission. Now think about it. If a first-time home buyer has scraped up their down payment, they're excited about buying their first home. Now all of a sudden they're saying, well, you got to come up with another $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. That's going to throw a damn cloth on a lot of those buyers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it's totally a good thing for the buyer. Now, it hasn't happened that way. The judge has not approved this settlement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not written in stone. It will probably come. It will change the landscape. And I think, you always have low-cost providers coming into the market.
Yeah.
And you have full service, which is what we do. We're full service agents. We don't just love them and leave them. And you get what you pay for. So what sticks in my head is I used to work for American Airlines, and Bob Crandall was the CEO. And he said at one point, you can never compete on price because somebody will always undercut you. What you have to compete on is value, what you bring to the table.
So true.
So that's what we do in the real estate business. We bring value. And there are two brochures that we have. One is like 157 things we do for sellers to make it easy. The other one is 105 things for buyers that we do to make it easy. So we're proving our value, and henceforth, commissions are going to take a drastic dive. When prices are going up, we have families to feed and expenses, and there's a lot of marketing.
Well, you don't work in a space, right? If you don't work in a space, you don't know what the value really is. So
Right.
It's awesome that you put it out there. Hey, this is the value that you're getting.
Yes.
This is why this is what you're spending.
Well, and we were talking about it in the green room, Scott and I. Drew, you just had surgery a few years back. You had a major surgery, and it's not like, give me the cheapest surgeon you got, please.
Right.
The guy, the guy that's smoking a cigar.
It's got a chainsaw.
Yeah, right.
Or a rusty knife.
I'm not going to ask my heart surgeon for a discount.
Right. Exactly. So with that said, now some of the is it different? And we've got a nationwide, a lot of people listen to the station globally and nationwide. And of course, you're licensed in Illinois and Wisconsin, or just Illinois?
Illinois.
Okay. And I know, because I'm in Illinois as well, is Illinois, especially the Chicagoland area, is an attorney driven. So there's attorneys making sure things are fair and just, and the contracts are correct. But in some other states,
In
is it?
Wisconsin, there's not.
So they're not. So it could be like the Wild West out there saying, "Oh, well,
Is that right?
In Wisconsin, you don't need a lawyer to close your deal.
yeah,
And I don't know how that would work.
right."
I guess the title company takes on more responsibility.
I mean, let alone contracts. I could barely read instructions on how to build a desk. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Correct.
So, yeah, having a lawyer is kind of important.
Unless the contracts were all IKEA and they were pictures, I guess it would be fine.
Right.
One thing they're doing with, they're rewriting the listing agreement,
Okay.
which basically lists to the seller, hey, here's the commission, charging, what do you want to pay to the buyer's agent, and there's spots for each one. And then they're also rewriting the purchase contract.
Yeah.
So there's more transparency out there, which is good. Everybody will know what they're paying, and why they're paying it.
Yeah.
But so the landscape is changing, but it's just the same. It's not going to be the end of the world in the
Right.
real estate world.
Right. Well, and I want people to understand. I mean, the real estate industry, the mortgage industry, these are highly regulated
Sure.
industries.
They have to be.
There's continuing education that you have to take to maintain your licenses. There are you can't say in dealing with a deal, you can't misrepresent in any way, because then you could lose your license. So I think that, and Scott, you and I talked about it, is a lot of people don't quite understand the real estate industry. It's like, oh, you put a sign in the yard, and sometimes they don't even do that anymore. Put a sign in the yard, I pull it out, I go and dive in my vault of money like Scrooge McDuck. You are an entrepreneur. You said that at the beginning of the show. So there is overhead that you have. You pay for office space. You pay for marketing. You pay. I mean, there's a ton that goes
Major
into it.
expenses, dues to the different organizations, marketing costs, your time.
Yep.
There's a lot more involved than most people realize.
Even in your continuing, you guys sell insurance, so I know.
Yeah, continuing education.
Continuing
I
education.
just renewed my license in 2024, and every 2 years we have to sit through it and make sure that there are no surprises.
The
21 years, I've never been called in front of the ethics committee.
That's awesome. That's impressive. Not surprising, impressive. There's your time. Hey, by the way, it's 3:00 on Sunday. I want to go see this house. I'll meet you there at 5.
You forget that it's 20 below and the Bears are playing.
That's right.
Right
during dinner.
So there's a lot of moving parts to your industry,
Right.
and how you do it, and you mastered it, right? And here's not to say that a 2-year veteran in the industry, it hasn't, but 21 years, you got your bumps, your bruises, your scrapes, your scars.
You gotta have a good idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and that's amazing. So,
Like you said, I'd rather have somebody with 21 years instead of somebody with 2 months experience, especially in this business.
especially now in today's market,
Right.
because as you said, when you also negotiate contracts, right? And there's a piece right there. You're like, wait, that's what sports agents do,
Sure.
But you do this on you give guidance, it's like, hey, here's what I think, and here's the best, and
Absolutely.
so there's so many moving parts. It's not just like sticking a sign in the yard and then jumping in your vault of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And waiting for the bolt of money to even happen. Once again, you're waiting
Sure.
for your money based on closing, and you're showing the added value to that, sitting on top of your fixed costs. When you do the cost analysis and running your own company, you say, oh, my profit margins, what do you think? Because listen, all these expenditures, and then the market. So you're lining up or trying to line up 4 or 5 different like relationships, if I put it that way,
Sure.
at a time to start getting that snowball going, right?
Mhm.
That's how you keep moving forward.
So, and here's the other thing, and I'm just like 21 years now. To me, I'm going back into the 1900s, but it's not anymore, right? So literally,
I hate when you say
right? So literally, yeah, 2003. So you were just cutting your teeth in this business before, when the bubble popped,
that.
and you lived through that. And what an experience, number one, right?
Sure. Sure.
Which is, to me, that's cool because you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly.
We got experience in it now, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
In 2003, when I got my license, they said, "Well, you're not gonna sell a house for 6 months."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I like food with my meals." So I was out there doing everything.
Sure, hustling.
4 times open houses, that you
Yeah.
name it, I was doing it. And fortunately, one of the agents in my office went into a home, and the guy smoked, and she didn't want to be around it. So she said, "Do you want this listing?" And I said, "Of course." And took the listing, sold it, and never looked back.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. What do you see happening down the road? And what I mean by that is, my son, bought a house back in 2021. He's in the Navy, through an online tour, sight unseen. And I never thought that would happen. So there's been some changes in the industry, and not bad changes.
Right.
So the industry continues to evolve. What do you think you see coming down the road in the world of real estate?
Well, pictures are great, and we've seen good pictures and bad pictures on the MLS, and the technology is improving. So, if somebody's in New York, I can FaceTime and walk them around the place. But really, to get a feel of a place, you want to be there in person.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's next to a busy highway or the train tracks are running behind or whatever. And this is one of the biggest purchases you're going to make.
Yeah.
And I always say, at the end of the day, I want you to enjoy what you come home to.
That's right.
I love that.
And so, some people are in a hurry and they need to move and need a place right away. I can understand that, but like any smart decision, you want to do it the right way.
Well, and so nightmare stories. When I was first shopping for a house moving home this way, I brought my father-in-law with, who was a general contractor, and so he can help look at all. I don't know.
Give you some eyeballs.
Right. Like, yeah, not this one, or
Yeah.
good bones, right? I hear words like that. I don't really know
Yeah.
what about. Like, is there that guy here? So we go into this house, and man, I'm like instantly like, this is the one, love it. Space, the basement's finished. It's everything that I want. Good sized closets. And we get into the laundry room, and he's like, "Well, we're done here." And I go, "Why? What's up?" And he's like, "Up." And pointed to the foundation, and it had this giant crack, and it's just moisture all coming through that. He's like, "That's a nightmare." He's like, "So when he was giving me tips, he's like, well, first of all, and this is, I'm sure you can confirm this, is like one of the first things before somebody calls you is they should probably get pre-approved.
Absolutely.
To see where they're at.
Absolutely.
Because then you're wasting your time,
Yeah.
and you don't even know if they're approved or pre-approved for that kind of number, right?
Right. Well, 2 things. Number one, no matter if it's a pristine home, it's a flip, whatever, I always say to them, nothing beats a good home inspection. And to have a good home inspector available. But to address your idea of pre-approval, now with this need to have an exclusive buyer agreement, you don't want to go out with somebody until A, they agree to that agreement, and B, importantly, that they do get pre-approved, because a seller wants only qualified buyers to walk through their front door. And if you might love a $500,000 home, but you're pre-approved for 300, don't fall in love with that $500,000 home. You'll be frustrated.
You're always going to love what you want more than what you can actually do, right? That's why it's called a stepping stone.
Right.
Get what you need, move forward, and then grow. And then when you grow and you look at what your expenses are and everything else, and once again, Ken brought it to my attention what your goal is, right? To be able to move forward. Awesome. You know, you give a lot of really good information. Just for our listeners out there, one more time, what's the best way to call you?
The best way to do it is to call me. My number is 847-921-4082. I'll answer that personally. You can text that number, or you can find me on the web at scottrosehomes.com, or on social media, Instagram, Scott Rose Homes, Facebook, Scott Rose Homes, or Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Yep.
Oh, you're all over the place.
I'm all over. And listen, and if you have any questions about what's being said out there, Scott's more than happy to have a conversation. Just reach out to him, scottrosehomes.com, and he'll give you a jingle. And here's what I love. Your tagline is,
I'll be there for the changes in your life.
there you go.
Love it.
And if anybody wants one of those two brochures, either what we do for buyers or sellers, get a hold of me and I'll be happy to send that out to you.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Scott, can't thank you enough for being here.
Yeah.
Thank
Scott,
you.
Thank you so much for joining the show.
My pleasure.
Listen, folks, if you like what you see here, make sure you go to our YouTube channel at 216 Creator Studios. Click that like button, smash that bell, and please subscribe. Here at Let's Talk Local, we appreciate your time. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.